The goal of resolving conflict in a relationship is not victory or defeat. So you started wishing my brother evil.
No, I wasn't wishing him evil, but I was planning that evil will come. And when that evil comes,
when there's a conflict, learn to separate issues from person. I told you how we could
start
build an ice block machine and set hundreds of blocks, and I fell into the hand of a scammer who didn't know how to build ice block machine, and we took your entire saving. That
alone is enough
to start a
tear
conflict.
us apart. I said, I can't. This guy is
The goal of resolving conflict in a relationship, especially in marriage, is not victory or defeat. It is reaching understanding and letting go of our need to be right. This podcast is designed to help you, like we say, enjoy and not endure your marriage. On this episode, we are looking at 6 powerful tips to resolve conflicts in marriage. Can 2 people work together without agreeing on the direction? Direction first before action. You don't just take action without knowing the direction. And as usual, I have my official Waka partner with me on the podcast again today. Margaret, you're welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
You know, few couples like to admit it, but conflict is common to all marriages. But a few people, I've had people say we have never fought before. Now, fighting and conflict are 2 different things.
Yes.
We are talking about disagreement.
Yes.
And it shocks people when they have disagreement. One of the reasons why you will have disagreements is the fact that you are from different backgrounds.
Yes.
What was your background like?
Well, my dad is Edo. My mom is Kogi, Yoruba speaking part.
Combination.
The combination is, that's the combination.
And your dad didn't want you to marry somebody from the eastern part of the country?
He doesn't like
Igbo people.
No. But I was shocked when he met you and he fell in love with you. Because he warned me, don't bring Igbo.
I would never.
So, but me, I didn't tell you.
I would never accept. Why didn't you tell me?
I just didn't. I was in love with you already, so. And he must accept this one. Because I realized if he didn't, I would go to my mom, because my mom loves
Igbo people.
Yes.
Yeah, my mother-in-law was a wonderful woman. The first day I was supposed to go and see him, and you asked me, you know, the normal traditional right come with a bottle of wine, and I didn't have the money to buy the Ever wine. And I told you, please stay at home, I will bring the Ever wine to daddy today. And I was looking for money all over the place
to buy the wine.
Eventually, Ever wine then was 300 and something naira. So somebody blessed me with 500 naira. So I quickly sent them. So
even though my father
collected the wine and didn't.
He will tell you to drink it.
He now poured the wine and said we should drink it.
That's my father.
He said me and you should drink. I was like, if you had known that I would be the one to drink the wine,
why did I buy it?
No way now. But it was just traditional that I come.
The important thing is that you take good care of
my daughter, and that was just it. Your dad was a civil servant.
Yes.
Your mom was a businesswoman. But my own parents were both entrepreneurs. So that gave me a certain mindset. You understand? So I never loved working because I grew up to see my dad start different businesses and those businesses thrived. So I don't like it when somebody comes me 9 to 5 and start telling me about it. Now you can imagine, immediately when we met, you noticed that I started telling you about entrepreneurship.
Of course.
That was enough to start a conflict.
Yes.
I was even the one that made you to resign.
Of course.
You remember?
Of course.
What did your mom say then?
I didn't tell her.
Yes. Now.
Because if I told her, she wouldn't allow me. I wanted to all this while, but she didn't allow me to. So when I told you and you were like, I should resign, I said, I'm not going to tell my mom. So I didn't tell her. I just resigned.
She thought you were on leave.
She was not like, this leave never finished.
You know the end.
And I told her that I'm no more going to. She was like, what? Why? I said I want to do something else. Even though I didn't get to do that something else. But
what was something
let
else?
me just
We
get
wanted
out
to start.
of this.
I told you how we could
Start an
build an ice block machine
and start.
set hundreds of blocks, and I
Yes.
fell into the hand of a scammer who didn't know how to build ice block machine, and we took your entire saving and we put it in the ice block machine, and we couldn't complete. Even when they completed it,
that alone is enough
to start a
tear us
conflict.
apart. I said, no, I can't. This guy is arun ọkùnrin kan lele.
My wife saved up over 100,000 naira.
Yes.
And I collected the money and
That was
invested
in
it.
2008.
But the good thing I did was that I brought the ice block machine to your house. You know, I've always been a good pitcher. I pitched to you, you brought money, and then when that one didn't work, I began to pitch another thing. I've always been pitching businesses to you. But eventually it worked, Abby.
We thank God. We thank God.
We are looking at resolving conflict. And one of the things we must make people understand is this. You have to know your differences. You have to accept the differences. You have to adjust to your differences before you can resolve conflict in that regard. Let me give you an example. When we met, there were some things I studied about you, and I realized that no matter how much I try, you can't stop them.
Like?
You can't stop shaking your head. You can't stop pitching when we are talking sometimes, and you just like, and I'm like, bring down your voice. So it's a difference. You understand? And then I am task oriented.
Yes.
And I am people oriented.
Yes.
This you are not. These are differences.
Yes.
I'm this kind of person that decision making is like this for me. Bam.
Bam.
But for you, is slowly.
Yes.
Let's take
And
it
steadily.
slow and steadily. So now look at that. I'm a spender.
Yes.
You are a saver.
Yes.
You are still a saver.
Till tomorrow.
Me, I'm still a spender.
Till tomorrow.
But I'm learning saving. There's a story about my very good friend where he grew up in his house with his parents. When they cook beans,
yes,
they make stew on the beans. That means they cook the beans normally like you cook your rice and then make stew. So when he got married, the wife comes from a background where they cook the beans like jollof. They pour palm oil and all the stew inside and mix it together. So he kept telling the wife that he didn't like eating beans in that way. And the wife just felt, what's the big deal?
This is the way we do it in our house now.
So on this particular day, the guy came back from work, and you know the flat they were living in then, you walk into the flat through the kitchen.
Okay.
So the lady was cooking.
Okay.
And incidentally, she was cooking beans.
Wow.
And she had cooked it the way they normally cook it.
In their home.
In their home. And the guy, the moment the guy saw that beans,
oh my God,
it triggered something in him. And he said, Eledami koi wai. Now the lady said, when she had that much anger, she was wondering, over what?
What?
Over beans. You know what she did that day? She said, thank God that she had not poured in the palm oil and everything, but she was preparing to do it. So she divided the beans, cooked one with stew, and cooked one jollof style. I said, so what happened? Conflict resolved. So conflict is as a result of the fact that we come from different backgrounds. It doesn't mean we are bad. It means that we grew up used to doing things in a certain way. You remember recently you were telling me that the asoebi for my mom's burial.
Yes.
That you would sew it as Iro and Buba.
Yes, yes.
And we are going to do the burial in my village. What did I tell you?
He said, I
Igbo
can't
women
do that.
don't tie one wrapper. Their wrapper is always two. The one under will be with rope. And you have never tied wrapper like that.
Once.
When we had our traditional wedding. But imagine married to an Igbo guy and you never tied wrapper. Do you know that can cause conflict?
So sorry.
And the conflict can start now.
So sorry. Because I'm not about to go and buy.
Number 2, Resolving conflict requires defeating selfishness. This is one major trigger of conflict, selfishness. And that simply means I want it my way.
Your own way. My way.
No be your way.
My way.
My way.
It must be my way.
It must be my way.
Or no way.
Or no way. No. Then there can be no marriage.
Of course.
If we don't lay down our ways.
Our ways. And then let's pick the best
out of these ways. Because some ways are very bad.
Yes.
Even me buying the books and those things, I had to learn at some point.
No, you have adjusted.
Abi?
Oh, of course.
That I shouldn't be that selfish.
Even if not for me. For the babe.
You know, all our differences, like they say, are magnified in marriages because they feed what is undoubtedly the biggest source of our conflict, our selfish, sinful nature. Every human being is naturally selfish.
Every human being, yes.
Every human
naturally.
Being. By nature,
we are selfish.
And then when we get into marriage and we want to, because this, conflict, it feeds our selfish nature. And that's why we begin to say things like, I know if you change, is a lie. You can change. You are just being selfish.
Just being defensive.
You are being defensive of your selfishness.
You can change.
Step 3 is taking the initiative to resolve a conflict rather than waiting for the other person to take the first step. This is very, very key.
Very key. If you want peace to always reign. And the way to just do that is to know that, is to either ask yourself that, okay, what my husband has done, is it to hurt me? Or was it a mistake?
Wow.
Or was it something that we can work around?
You made mention of the fact that sometimes even the person causing this conflict is doing so out of ignorance. Imagine like when I were living in my mom's house. It was
just pure
ignorance. I was being sentimental, and there have been some issues like that as well. There
was a time that I just thought in my heart that should I too move to my family house?
Wow.
Yes. So that it will be family. Stay in your family, let me stay in my family. But I'm not like, no. But I've decided, I've left my parents. So can we face it? And
so what you are basically saying is that those negative thoughts will come.
Definitely.
In taking the initiative to resolve a difficult conflict, those initiatives will come. Those negative thoughts will come. And you never told me about this one, no? You never mentioned it to me, so you are keeping secret from me. Like you had plans to move back to your parents.
Yes.
So which other negative thought came again?
I think that's the major one.
I think there was a time you mentioned that it was like maybe we should just, crazy thoughts like does this end it? And you were like, this is going too far.
Yes.
Okay, that was a particular day that we had a disagreement in church, and
you
were looking and and that day you went home and you said in your mind the devil was all because it's the devil that will bring such crazy thoughts.
Of course.
That don't talk to this guy again. And you were like,
Now
that's another thing that people must get to understand. And I always say this: when there's a conflict, learn to separate issues from person. My wife, in my own case now, saying that my wife is a bad person is different from my wife did something bad. If you want to resolve a conflict, you must never call a bad thing a bad person. And I always say this to young couples or people who have been married or what. When people come before me and say, my husband is a bad person, I said, what you mean to say is that my husband did something bad. They will say, no.
Then why did you marry a bad person?
You couldn't have married a bad person. But a good person can do something bad. Because if you make it a personal thing, it becomes difficult for you to continue to live with that person. And these are programmings that we have to give to ourselves, or else you will not be able to take the initiative to resolve a difficult conflict.
Yes.
You will not take that initiative.
Yes.
Okay, step 4. Resolving conflict requires loving confrontation. I think the step 3, flows into the step 4. Now, confronting your spouse with grace and tactfulness requires wisdom, patience, and humility. Because confrontation in itself looks like battle.
Battle, yes.
So, but it requires loving confrontation. You never liked confrontation.
I don't.
But you still, but you
there's a way. There's a way we resolve things. You know, at time, most times if there's anything, I'll just say that, Muferi, say that I want to see you.
And sometimes I already know that you will say Muferi, so I will bone my face. Sometimes I bone my face so that you don't even come and call me.
I will still tell you. God to say, God to say, I don't like it. Can you do this? Can you do that?
You know, this is very, very important. These things that we are mentioning now.
Yes.
You know, I see people bring to the public space what confronting one another would have taken care of. You know, and that's why I love even this concept that the Lagos State government has, that the mediation center.
Yes.
You know, the mediation center. A lot of issues are resolved at the level of conflict resolution and mediation. In fact, they have even encouraged people, let's settle these things out of court. Most of the things we take before the judge. Take to mediators. You understand? Yes. And what the mediators do basically is to help both of you confront the real issue. Because when we become emotional, we overlook the issue and we begin to attack the person. I remember a particular man that used to come to me then and would come and seek counsel, and I told him, I said it's important. He was having issue with one of the tenants in a house that he was managing, and I told him, I said, you have to take this man to the mediation center. And he felt so bad, you know, that it wouldn't be a good idea to take the man to the mediation center. But eventually the tenant got so annoyed one day and took the estate agent, you know, to the mediation center, and the man came to report to me when they gave him the letter. And I said, you know what, that serves you right, because I have already told you to take this man to the mediation center. You didn't do it. I said, but let me tell you something. From my own experience, he thinks that he has a case, but he will come back, you understand, licking his wounds. The man said, are you sure? So they went to the mediation center, and the man was shocked that at the end of the day, though they applauded the fact that man came to the mediation center, but they made him realize that why would you insist that because they didn't renovate a part of your building, you won't pay rent? Who does such a thing? And for that, you have not paid for long. So they asked the estate agent, the caretaker, what do you want done? He said the owner of this house wants this man out of the house.
Even with the money.
So the man came back licking his wounds, and the man. So what I'm saying is that loving confrontation resolves conflict.
And I remember another one between husband and wife, that the man was misbehaving to the wife, and you told the wife, go to mediation center.
Because the man was afraid of confrontation.
Yes.
The woman was very expressive.
Yes.
And anytime the man
would dodge it,
and the man started raping the woman. The man started forcing the woman.
Yes.
You understand? And the woman wanted
saying,
them.
After all, she's my wife.
You are my wife. And forcefully wounded her. In fact, the man started threatening that he was going to kill her and people wouldn't know what happened to her. So when the woman came to talk to me, I said, look, let me tell you one thing. If this man lives up to his threat, people might never suspect that he could go out and kill his wife.
Yes.
So I told her, I said, it's better you go to the mediation center. And then she went to the mediation center, and the man, you know, because a lot of weak people hate confrontation. Weak people see confrontation as, you know, as you demeaning them. You know, I will never forget a particular family I was courting with at one point. The guy would always beat his wife to stupor. And the elder brother of the guy came one day and told the guy, he said, hope you know that it is weak men that punch their wives. He said, strong men talk, weak men beat. That's the truth. You know, a lot of the times, We think it's the weaker person that says sorry. No. It's the stronger person that says sorry. You know, and that's one thing I love about our relationship.
Yes.
The fact that we want to talk about things,
everything.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about food.
Yes.
Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about rent. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about career. Let's talk about serving God. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about relocation. Let's talk about the vision. So resolving conflict requires loving confrontation. You don't sweep things under the carpet. You know, because if you keep sweeping things under the carpet, a day is going to come, the carpet, under the carpet will be filled. And you won't have anywhere. And that's where aggression sets in.
Yes.
Most of the time.
You have bottled
up a lot of things. Okay, let's go to the fifth one. Resolving conflict requires forgiveness. No matter how hard two people try to love and please each other, they will fail. They will fail. You know why? As good as we want to be, sometimes we even fail ourselves. Have you been in a situation where you failed yourself?
Of course. Anytime I cook food that is not delicious, because I know I'm a good cook.
Wow. I know that too. When
I now cook something, even me, I will like, kilo wrong, kilo shele, kini recipe wonimulu, kilo shele. If you refuse to forgive, it will affect you. Even the person might not even know that he or she has offended you.
Wow.
And you are carrying that unforgiveness all around. You won't be able to be
free.
You won't be able to move, do things. Your mind will be so occupied with what that person has done for you that you won't be able to do something well and good for yourself and for others.
Somebody said unforgiveness and bitterness is like when you take poison and you expect the other person to die. A cat was in a room. They were trying to talk about how anger, the effect of anger, psychological to our physiological. A cat was in a room and suddenly they introduced a dog and the cat screamed. You understand? But they put an X-ray machine to the body of that cat to see. You understand? When it screamed, when it reacted like that, what happened to its body? They said the intestines just twisted together. So when we carry, because anger is what leads to unforgiveness.
Yes.
Your intestine just they twist.
I'm telling you.
That's why sometimes you will realize that you have running stomach.
Yes.
And you didn't eat.
You have headache.
It's true. You start having headache.
So what is the problem? He said there's no problem. There's problem.
There's problem because you are releasing dangerous toxins. And he said that the ability to do that is tied to each individual's relationship with God. And that's why I like what you said. Some people like, I can't. I remember when my mom died, somebody was telling me that my brother did something to her. Said, I can never forgive your brother. I was looking at the person like this and I'm like, the way some people talk, I can never forgive. Now, you don't know that unforgiveness is not chaining the other person down.
It's chaining you.
It's chaining you down. So swearing and boasting that you will never forgive is like saying, I have locked myself in prison and I will never release myself.
You also shared something that your daddy will always say, that when you are fighting and you put someone down and you are lying on that person, you too, you are down.
My dad will always say, onye ji onye nala ki onwe. Which means holding somebody to the floor means you won't move yourself.
Because you are holding the person.
You are holding the person.
So unforgiveness
is holding somebody to the floor and refusing to make progress yourself. Okay, finally, this sixth step. Resolving conflict requires returning a blessing for an insult. I love this one. And I'm happy that we are rounding up here. Every marriage operates on either the insult for insult principle or the blessing for insult principle. What that means is that some spouses will say an eye for an eye. Do me, I do you. God no go vex. And somebody said, an eye for an eye leaves the whole town blind. That means we must not be retaliatory. You know, and I remember in the early part of our marriage, whenever you do anything, I would always want to retaliate. Until I realized that retaliating is not destroying me. You see, how can you intentionally go out to hurt somebody you love? So you are either living on the insult for insult principle, or you are living on the blessing for insult. That means, yes, this person did what was not good.
Not good.
I will not repay good. Sorry, I will not repay evil with evil. Talk about that.
Okay. I've not said it before, but I'm going to say it.
Be careful, oh.
Yes.
What do you want? What have you not said before that?
When we got married, and my elder brother was misbehaving. It was someone just called and said it was somewhere where they are taking dope. You know, he's not coming. He wasn't coming home. And I asked you that because he's a man, can you follow me so that we can go and help
fetch him out from that place?
And you refused. I had to go myself, and thank God I was able to get him out
of that place.
I
vowed
to do the same to you.
So to make my brother walk away from the house. How did
No,
you?
It won't be the same thing. Because I know you have a brother. And I know that it might not go through, he doesn't smoke. But something will shall happen.
So you started wishing my brother evil?
No, I wasn't wishing him evil, but I was planning that evil will come. And when that evil comes, I will abandon him.
And you know the funny thing about
but I couldn't do it.
Why?
I just couldn't do it.
Why?
If I say it, I've started studying the word, the word of God. I've started using it to renew my mind. And then I know that the Bible says if you pay evil with evil, you will have the repercussion. So I don't want to have the repercussion of evil. Because, it's just like you doing something that is not good, and you know that there's a bad repercussion, and you
keep doing it.
So I don't want to. So I couldn't.
I was talking to a woman recently, and she said something to me, which is on this principle: insult for insult or blessing for insult. She said she prayed. As in, women will always tell you how much they pray that their husband, God should bless. She said, but God blessed her husband. And things became so well for them. He said, but the husband began to maltreat her. And then she prayed that the husband's business should collapse.
And the business
collapsed. Both of them. She said, what we are suffering today is as a result of what I prayed that should happen. He said, but now I am praying that God should restore my husband. And the day we saw the man, I was like, how can a human being be like this? Now, that is what happens when there's a conflict. And instead of applying the blessing for insult principle, you apply the insult for insult. Because, I've also had people, look at what you said. Now, there is no how you would operate under the insult for insult that you wouldn't wish people evil. And you see, when you begin to wish people evil, one of the things the devil will do is that he will give you the opportunity to execute that evil. And it is vice versa.
Yes.
For some women also, the man is thinking that Shebi is this car that is making you. You understand? They'll be gallivanting and be raising your shoulder. You were saying something that say, oh, that car, you will lose it. Shebi by the time you don't have car again.
Or you have accident and
or
be
you
in
have
the hospital.
Accident, you be in the hospital. Or that your wife, probably because you think that the reason why her ego is bloating is because she is the manager. Shebi they will sack you. That's insult for insult principle. And in conflict resolution, that will never work. It's a dangerous way to resolve conflict. So in closing, what would you say to couples about conflict?
What I would say is that whatever happens, let love prevail. For your sake. For your sake. Let love prevail. That is the principle that I'm using. I love myself. So, and I will not want to do anything that will hurt myself. And so when I read or see that doing this will hurt me, I back off.
Thank you very, very much. That's a wonderful one. That's a wonderful one. And I just hope, that people would take these counsels to heart and just know that, like we said, conflict is normal to all marriages.
Yes.
Disagreement is normal. It doesn't mean that we don't love each other. And one of the things I've also realized from conflict is that when we come out of it, it makes us better. It helps us to understand each other more and helps us to appreciate each other more. It's been wonderful doing this podcast with you again today.
Yes, thank you.
Amazing time. Always
you.
To be on set with you. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Me and My Waka Partner. If you enjoyed our conversations, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never get to miss any episode. And like we always say, we would love to hear your thoughts. We would love to hear your feedback. So please drop a comment below in the comment section or connect with us on our social media platforms. They will see you again. God bless and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.